Alrighty. Another System 5, another one for Ben O'Brien. This one actually sent back to me after being repaired because that resistor down there is smoked. I've still got the original here somewhere. Hold on. Let's see if we'll focus on that. Yeah, there it goes. That resistor smoked. He got the board back and it had been running in a machine, and then he swapped it to another machine that didn't boot. So he did all the usual stuff you get with pressing chips in, because you can get chip creep. These things, anything in socket can creep back out, especially when the boards are being flexed about, moved and transported around. But when he pressed on this chip in here, I think as he pressed the RAM, that resistor smoked. So I got it back up, got it back home. Oh, excuse my hands in the camera there. Excuse me a moment. Got it back in, got it back on the table, and it looked at first like the CPU had died because there was no activity from the CPU at all. So swapped it for this new one, reseated both the RAM, and it booted for 5 seconds. And then stopped, and then was watchdogging constantly. Well, I thought it was watchdogging, but it kind of led me up the garden path of it, because I was looking for an address bus fault, and a fault with the data lines, address lines, fault with the multiplex lines that are going into this. As you know, if you work on these, if you know that this only has about 8 or 9 address lines, and then the rest are shared between a couple of chips on the board to make up the whole address bus. But all the address and data lines were fine, and all the control lines were fine. But what I did find is when I checked the reset line, I checked it here and I checked it over here, the CPU wasn't actually being reset. It was stuck out of reset. And so I came to checking a few of the signals down here, and it turned out to be... can I zoom in? Can I zoom in? You can almost... Can you see? It's hard to get to. Not quite on them. There we are there. See if this will focus in. Yeah. How good's that camera focus? It turned out to be those 3 resistors there were cracked right at the wall of the resistor, because there was some signals missing off the transistors. Especially the 2 concerned with reset. So I replaced the 2 transistors, the pennies anyway, and I replaced that resistor there, and I had reset back. CPU was resetting. Still not running though. I actually found out the next 2 resistors across from it as well, which deal with the RAM enables, were both cracked as well. So what I'm going to end up doing, just before I send this out, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to replace this entire bank of components here, because once I replace those 2 resistors, there we go. She's alive again. Now I don't need to test the I/O or reels or the lamps, because we know that all works. This board was working on a machine. So I'd recommend by anybody with one of these boards that when you get it, regardless of whether it's booting or not, you get someone to replace that entire bank of components there, because they seem to be fragile. I think what's happened is when the board's been put in and taken back out, let's turn it off. When the board's been taken in, out of the machine and then put back in, the board flexes back and forth a wee bit when you're moving stuff and taking plugs in and out and stuff. I think those resistors just cracked with age. And that's all I can think of. I've replaced them anyway, and I've got plenty in a box, so I'll replace the rest of them and go, or Anthony can do that when the board gets back. It's quite a simple repair. It's just change the components over like for like. I know for a fact that Anthony has a lot of spares boards. Well, at least I think he has. Maybe he doesn't. I'm sure he told me he has, but you can take the good ones off one of the spares boards and put them on there. Or I'll do it, one of the 2. See how things go. But she's working again. She's nice and reliable, and it's going back into featuring a machine soon. Okay, bye bye.